Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. I am super pumped to have you here today because we're diving deep into a fascinating, kind of unspoken subject that affects literally anyone who interacts with the financial markets. We aren't going to be geeking out over charts, indicators, or algorithms today. Nope. Instead, we're looking at the internal psychological battle that traders face every single day. The source material we're analyzing today reveals a totally different way to understand your own decision-making process. It breaks down the exact mental framework that separates absolute consistency from, well, chaotic failure. Okay, let's dive into this. Have you ever stared at a glaring red loss on your screen and just asked yourself, why on earth did I just do that? I mean, you had a plan, you knew the rules, and yet, in the heat of the moment, it's like someone else took over. I want you to really think about this for a second. When the market is moving fast and you're caught in a drawdown, who is actually in control of your mouse? Who is really pushing those buttons? Because as we're going to see, the answer is definitely not as simple as just you. Here is the harsh reality, straight from our source material. You aren't actually competing against the market's algorithm. You are competing against your own psychological flaws, period. You blow accounts and suffer massive drawdowns way faster than the market can even process your irrational behavior. The absolute biggest obstacle to profitability isn't a lack of technical knowledge. It's a complete lack of internal control and self-mastery. You are fighting a war on the inside. And look, if you don't even recognize the combatants, you're guaranteed to lose. So, to win this war, we really have to wrap our heads around this core concept. You are not one unified person. According to our sources, every single person who steps into the marketplace is actually made up of a psychological trinity. It's like you have three distinct personas constantly fighting for the steering wheel of your account. These are the analyst, the trader, and the gambler. Let's break each of these down, because recognizing exactly which one is speaking in your head is the absolute key to running a successful operation. First up, we've got the mentor figure of our story, the analyst. You can think of the analyst as the boring, monotone brain trust inside your head. This persona provides the blueprint. The analyst is completely devoid of emotion. It doesn't care about your ego, and it has absolutely nothing to prove to anyone on social media. Its only job is to objectively look at the data, follow the rule-based model, and warn you when trouble is brewing. It is the purest form of logic in your entire trading operation. Next, we have the trader. And the trader is really the hero of our narrative. This is the executor. When you are operating purely as the trader, you don't care about the thrill or the rush of the market. Your focus is 100% on profitability and risk management. The trader's sole responsibility is to listen to the analyst's logic and execute it flawlessly. The trader defends the business, plain and simple. It's the active manager that places the stops, takes the partial profits, and protects your capital from impulsive, business-destroying decisions. And finally, we meet the villain of the story, the gambler. Our sources affectionately and sometimes brutally refer to this persona as Retail Rick. The gambler is intensely impulsive. This part of you is constantly seeking a dopamine high, and it is fueled entirely by ego, the desperate need to be right, and a craving for external validation. The gambler absolutely hates following a boring blueprint. It wants to test boundaries, break the rules, and push the limits just to see if it can get away with it. Which brings us to when the gambler takes control and identifying impulsive trading. Let's look at exactly what happens when Retail Rick manages to grab the wheel. And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer danger of that exact moment. Check out this quote from the source material. "You're driving drunk right now with a live account, seeing how fast he can go before a speeding ticket." It is such a visceral, tough love metaphor, right? Trading impulsively under the influence of the gambler is literally like driving drunk. You're intoxicated by the desire to make money quickly or prove yourself, and you are recklessly steering your financial vehicle straight into a catastrophic crash. Let's break down exactly what motivates the gambler, because this strikes right at our own hidden insecurities. Retail Rick desperately needs external validation. He wants to post a screenshot just to get likes. He chases the dopamine high of being right rather than the quiet, boring satisfaction of actually being profitable. He trades for a social media equity curve to impress strangers. And worst of all, when he takes a hit, he desperately tries to win back those drawdowns instantly through revenge trading rather than just accepting the loss as the cost of doing business. Look at the stark contrast between these two mindsets. The gambler is pure chaos, highly emotional, chasing dopamine, and actively looking to break rules just to feel alive. Now, compare that to the clinical, rule-bound analyst. The analyst is totally devoid of emotion, has zero to prove, and strictly follows the model. Your long-term success literally hinges on which of these two voices is giving instructions to the trader. Moving into mastering your conscience and listening to the analyst. Let's talk about how we can actually tune into that internal mentor when things get heated. True market wisdom is understanding that the analyst is essentially your internal conscience. Think back to a time you were about to enter a trade, and this quiet voice in the back of your head just said, this doesn't look right. That was the analyst. The analyst warns you when conditions change and get choppy. And more importantly, the analyst is the voice that tells you to strictly sit on your hands. Listening to that voice, instead of arguing with it, is exactly what separates the professionals from the amateurs. Now for the trader's balancing act, managing the conflict. Let's unpack the heavy burden of keeping this whole operation running. Now, what's really interesting about this breakdown is how clearly it defines our daily battlefield. You've got these completely conflicting goals. The analyst just wants rule compliance. The gambler wants ego and dopamine. And the trader just wants profitability. So to actually achieve that profitability, the trader has to actively wrestle the gambler into the back seat, tape his mouth shut, and execute only the plan laid out by the analyst. It is an active, exhausting, daily psychological tug-of-war. Next up, navigating troubled market waters with the survival playbook. What do we actually do when things get crazy? Our sources provide a very strict 3-step playbook for surviving emotional turbulence. Step 1. Actively listen to the analyst's warning when it tells you conditions are garbage. Step 2. Literally stop pressing buttons. Do not try to force your will on the market. And step 3. Step away from the charts entirely for at least 30 minutes. Look, if missing a move makes you furious, that is 100% proof that the gambler is currently in control. Walking away is the only way to shut down that panic. We can build on this by using standard operating procedures, or SOPs, that are designed to literally strip control away from your emotional impulses. Actually write down your exact targets and stops on a physical notepad right next to your keyboard. When the market starts moving, you do not move those stops impulsively. If you find yourself in troubled waters, take half the position off to secure capital and ease your mind. And above all else, you have to accept being wrong without demanding an instant revenge trade to fix your bruised ego. This quote summarizes the whole philosophy perfectly. You don't want the gambler driving the car. The trader defends the business from the gambler in you. Just notice the phrasing there. You aren't just defending your account from bad market conditions. You are actively mounting a daily psychological defense against yourself. Running a successful trading business means ensuring the trader is the only one who ever holds the keys to the car. Which leaves us with this final, incredibly vital question. The next time you sit down, fire up your charts, and look at the market, who are you going to put in charge? Are you going to follow the boring, clinical logic of the analyst? Will you let the trader execute with precise risk management? Or will you let the gambler drive tomorrow? The choice, and honestly, the survival of your account, is entirely up to you. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and be sure to take this psychological blueprint with you into your very next session.